alone in the Garden of Gethsemane. When everything had become quiet and still, Jesus, accompanied by Peter, James, and John, left the camp, walking through a nearby ravine. Jesus sought a place where he had often gone to pray and commune with God. When John Mark saw Jesus leaving with the 3 apostles, he followed them at a distance. He hid in the bushes, from where he saw and heard everything that happened during those last moments in the garden, the time before Judas appeared with the armed guard to arrest Jesus. The 3 apostles saw that Jesus was deeply troubled. Never before had they seen their master so sorrowful. Jesus asked them to sit down and keep watch with him while he went a short distance away, about a stone's throw, to pray. And when he had fallen to the ground, he prayed, "My Father, I have come into this world to do your will, and I have done so. I know that the hour has come to lay down this life in the flesh, and I do not shrink from it. But I would like to know that it is your will that I drink this cup, Father. Send me the assurance that you will be pleased with my death, just as I have pleased you with my life." Jesus remained in prayer for about 40 minutes, and then returned to his 3 apostles, whom he found, to his surprise, asleep, for their eyelids were heavy, and they could not stay awake. Jesus woke them up and said, "What? Can you not keep watch with me for even 1 hour? Do you not see that my soul is deeply sorrowful, even to the point of death, and that I long for your company?" When the 3 had shaken off their sleep, Jesus went away again by himself, fell to the ground, and prayed again. "Father, I know that it is possible to avoid this cup, but I have come to do your will, and although this is a bitter cup, I will drink it if it is your will." When he had prayed this, the mighty angel descended beside him, spoke to him, touched him, and strengthened him. Some of the words that this mighty angel spoke to him have been revealed to us, and he conveyed the message from the Heavenly Father, that he desired the Son to complete his self-bestowal on earth by undergoing the experience of death as a created being, just as all the mortal creatures created by him must undergo. The mysterious threshold when they pass from existence in time to progression in eternity. When Jesus returned to the 3 apostles, he found them once again in a deep sleep. He woke them and said, "At a time like this, I need you to keep watch and pray with me. Why are you falling asleep? Pray also for yourselves and your brothers, that they may withstand the coming temptations." After Jesus said this, he withdrew for the 3rd time and prayed, "Father, you see my sleeping apostles, have compassion on them. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And now, O Father, if this cup cannot pass away, then I will drink it. Not my will, but yours be done." And when he had finished his prayer, he remained on the ground for a moment. When he stood up and returned to his apostles, he found them asleep once more. He looked down at them, made a gesture of compassion, and said in a tender tone, "Sleep on now and take your rest. The critical hour is over. The hour has now come when the Son of Man will be betrayed and delivered into the hands of his enemies." He bent down to wake them and said, "Get up, let us return to the camp, for look, the one who betrays me is already near, and the hour has come when my flock will be scattered." Jesus had a dual nature, divine and human. The greatest proof of his divine nature is the resurrection from the dead. But here in the Garden of Gethsemane, you see the greatest proof of his human nature. Earlier in the evening, it had not seemed so difficult to drink the cup, but when the man Jesus said farewell to his apostles and sent them away to sleep, the ordeal became more frightening. The man Jesus underwent the natural ebb and flow of mortal fear, which is common to all human experience. Physically, he was weary from work and exhausted by the long hours of intense labor and painful concern for the safety of his apostles. Though no mortal can presume to understand the thoughts and feelings of the Son of God in a moment like this, we know that he suffered great anguish of soul and unspeakable sorrow, for the sweat flowed in great drops down his face. When he was confirmed that it was the Father's intention to let natural events take their course, he relinquished his human will and was fully determined not to use any of his sovereign divine power to save his earthly life. During prayer, his human will became fully united with the divine will of his Father. The farewell to his apostles was a heavy burden for the human heart of Jesus. This sorrow of love weighed him down and made it all the more difficult to face death. He realized how weak and ignorant his apostles were, and he was deeply afraid to leave them. He knew very well that the moment of his departure had come, that the Heavenly Father longed for his return. But his human heart strongly desired to see if there was not possibly a legitimate way out of this terrible state of suffering and sorrow. And when his human nature sought to escape and failed in that, the man Jesus accepted the will of his Father and was ready to drink the cup. The divine consciousness of Jesus knew that he had done his best for the 12 apostles, but the human heart of Jesus wished that he could have done more for them before they were left alone in the world. Jesus' heart shrank. He truly loved his brothers. He was separated from his earthly family, and one of his chosen associates was in the process of betraying him. The people of his father Joseph had rejected him. His soul was tormented by frustrated love and rejected mercy. This was now one of the most terrible moments in his life on earth. For a moment, he was on the verge of being crushed by shocking cruelty and terrible anguish of soul. The human nature of Jesus was not untouched by this state of personal loneliness, public shame, and the apparent failure of his cause. All these feelings that came upon him put him under an indescribable weight of pressure. In this great sadness, his thoughts returned to his youth in Nazareth and to his early work in Galilee. During this severe ordeal, many of the pleasant scenes of his earthly ministry came to mind. He thought of his father Joseph, and of his small workshop in Nazareth, and of the old Zebedee with whom he had designed and built boats. He thought of Mount Hermon and the sunrise and sunset over the sparkling Sea of Galilee. With these cherished thoughts, he calmed himself, strengthening his human heart with gratitude and preparing himself for the impending calamity. Before Judas and the soldiers arrived, Jesus had fully regained his usual balance and calmness. The Spirit had triumphed over the flesh, and faith had proven stronger than any human tendency to fear and doubt. The supreme test of the full realization of the human nature had been undergone and passed. The Son of Man was ready to face his enemies with composure, fully assured of his invincibility as a mortal man wholly devoted to doing the will of his heavenly Father.